film lovers. Welcome to a new episode of New Movie Tuesdays. I'm Matthew Salanoa, your host, director, now podcasting, and here's my here's my review of Havoc and Predator: Killer of Killers. That's right. I got two movies for you on this episode because both of them were really fun, and I'll tell you at the end which one was my favorite. First up, I want to talk about Havoc, which stars Tom Hardy and Forrest Whitaker and Jesse Melee, who you might know from Shadow and Bone. And she was in a couple other things, but Shadow and Bone, she's the main actress in that one. And I've only seen season one, but season one, which I think overall was okay. It's a historical piece where people have superpowers. But episode 7, if you want to see some cool anime stuff, watch that show for episode 7. And there's a great flashback storyline with the villain. But Jesse Melee is excellent in that show. So I look forward to seeing season 2 of that. Tom Hardy, we all know as Bane, amongst many, many other great characters. But Bane is definitely my favorite. So Havoc actually came out in April, but I'm just seeing it now. Havoc was directed by Gareth Evans, who is known for the Raid movies. I didn't even realize there was 3, but I saw the first one. The first one was really exciting and fun. So Havoc, I'll have to say, is very exciting and fun also. Havoc is about Tom Hardy, who is a homicide cop. He's just been assigned Jesse Melee, who is his partner. And they are assigned to deal with this huge homicide case where this evil layer of a drug dealer has been completely shot up by a few organized men with high-powered guns. And the movie actually starts off with this massive action sequence, it's exciting, but it's very CGI filled, where the police are chasing a semi-truck and it's the camera's whirring all over the place, seeing everything that's going on. It's very exciting, but because of the CGI, I'm not that into it. But anyway, this action sequence leads us to the sort of characters, and one of the police officers that's hurt in that action sequence is actually directly tied to Tom Hardy. And so there's some larger criminal politics going on here. And the movie, as we get into the plot of them trying to find out who did what, and most of the movie is about one witness who the police want to pin the murders on, who is actually Forrest Whitaker's son. Forrest Whitaker is running for mayor, and he has an estranged relationship with his son. And Tom Hardy is a crooked cop who's gotten a lot of favors from the mayor, and finding his son is his way out of the life. And so much of the movie is a collision of, you got the criminals, the gang of the people that got murdered. They're looking for who killed the drug dealer. It turns out it's the main boss's son. And so there's a personal angle there. At the same time, the guy being pinned for the violence is Forrest Whitaker's son. And in the middle of it, you got Tom Hardy trying to figure out what's going on. Where is this guy's son? And it's cool. It's fun. I think, the world building of the beginning of the movie is fine. It's not uninteresting, but you're kind of just, as a good movie should, you're just learning what's going on as the characters run around and interact with each other, which is fine. And then once the action starts, we get our first major action sequence where all the characters meet for the first time. It's this nightclub scene, which when they first walk into the nightclub, I have to admit, as a filmmaker, I'm like, you only had 25 people, huh? It looks like you had 25 people. Maybe use a tighter lens next time. I don't know. Sorry, Gareth Evans. This is where Gareth Evans sends Tom Hardy to beat me up. Ah, oh no, no, Bane, no, Venom, don't eat my head. Yeah, sorry, Gareth Evans. But other than that first shot, which is like this is, and now also in this nightclub, I have to admit, everyone is so like they're so low key. I'm like, this is why this generation sucks. We don't know how to party. This is not the Tupac, you know, California. We know how to party. This is not California, yay, where the clubs don't stop. It's like this is I, this is Generation Z. We don't know how to party. We look like we're pretending to have fun because in fact we don't know how to have fun. Sorry, we know how to be on our cell phones. But anyway, once we get past that shot, that just I was like, wow, this generation sucks. No one's dancing. Um, but once we get past that shot that I'm just talking too much about, and then the action starts. It is very cool. I have to say, like, I was real impressed with, not impressed so much, but when we get into that raid action, because it goes full on raid, where we got Tom Hardy, we got this girl from the opening sequence who had a mask on, so I didn't even realize it's her. But we got Tom Hardy. He's found the connection to the sun. It's this young woman. It's the son's girlfriend. And then we got all the players showing up in the scene. Timothy Olyphant's in this movie. He plays another cop that knows Tom Hardy. So he's also looking, while Tom Hardy's on his personal mission for Forrest Whitaker, we got Timothy Olyphant on his own mission. And then we got the gang, the Asians, just the Asians, the Asian gang coming in to go hunt. And this sequence is by itself worth the price of admission, or in this case, worth that monthly service fee for Netflix. It was so much fun. I thought if this was in theaters, this would have probably made some good cash because I think, look, I'm a filmmaker. I judge movies as a filmmaker, and you can either have a really great story that's what audiences are looking for, or you can just have insane action that really makes you glad you showed up. Because once the action starts, it is so balls to the wall. It's got that kind of old school John Woo level of insane explosions. Everything is blasting everywhere, and literally, even though I throw some shade on the opening sequence, which has a lot of computer animation, it just takes me out. I didn't think that's what this movie was, so I was surprised. So, but that doesn't matter. Most people probably won't care. But I was waiting for this. I was waiting for that live action. It's sort of martial arts style. The Raid is way more martial arts, but it's got that kind of nice blend of kind of the hard hitting American style meets martial arts meets Western gun shootout. It's literally got everything happening at once. And so this nightclub sequence, which I some would say goes on too long, for me goes on exactly the right amount of time because it's chaotic, it's hectic. You can tell what's going on, but it's just so many squibs are going off, so many CGI debris is flying around, and the choreography is really fun to watch. Where it is really like a kill or be killed type of scenario. So the way they choreograph it is just so intense and crazy. And that's what I'm talking about. Like, look, if you don't have like the biggest, best, heartwarming story, at least have something I can grapple with, which is, hey, Tom Hardy's looking for a way out of the life, and he needs this person. That's okay. That's enough. All I need to know is Tom Hardy needs this person to not be killed by everybody else. And so seeing Tom Hardy, like, I know for sure it's a stunt double a couple times, but I swear there's one shot he does the move where he runs and leaps up and does the sideways kick. There's at least one shot where it is definitely him, and that's just the moment where I'm like, oh, it's on. This action scene is, if I'm seeing Tom Hardy do this action scene is about to get really lit, and it really does. And seeing all the different factions fight with each other, it's a blast. So this fight by itself is worth watching the movie for. And then the movie just keeps going. And it's called, I would say this movie is mistitled. This scene I was like, this movie should have been called Carnage, because this is like sheer carnage. Havoc, I don't think, even if Havoc is the right word, I don't think it covers it, bro. And then at a certain point, the action scene gets so ridiculous. I'm like, damn, that was kind of overkill. And then as we go on, there's another fight scene with Jesse, Melee, and another character where it's a shootout down a stairwell. And there's no way in hell the guns they're using, they're both shooting with pistols, I think. And you're just seeing like these dramatic, sparks flying everywhere, and things exploding out of the wall because they have to miss each other for the action sequence to keep going. And it's overkill, but I love it. And then when we get to the finale, the final action sequence, that's where we get so much destruction in one location that I am like, this is overkill. Like literally, they've shot and killed someone, and then they keep shooting until that person is dead. This person will not be revived with chocolate. Princess Bride fans, this person will not be revived with chocolate. True love will not save them. They have been excessively mutilated. And I'm like, thank you. This is fun. Like, hey, not in real life, of course, this would be terrible, but just for a movie to just have this kind of like this cartoonish level of carnage, and because it is so much CGI, it feels like a cartoon. I feel like I'm watching like Looney Tunes or something at a certain point. I'm like, why are none of our heroes dead? Why are none of our heroes dead in this final scene? There's so many scenes where it looks like the bullets did hit them, and yet in the very next shot, I'm okay. It's like, no, you should not be okay. You know what I mean? This is plot armor, the movie. But yeah, the finale, I didn't think, you cannot top the nightclub scene. That's how I felt. The nightclub scene was so balls out. You're not going to top it, bro. Don't even bother. Don't even try. And they tried, and they did. And so the final shootout is just, which is ironically in a smaller location. It's so overkill. And one of the final deaths, I'm not going to say what happens, just that it's a kick-ass little fight scene between Tom Hardy and a martial arts girl. It's really cool. I mean, I was just like impressed with the choreography. And the choreography, the cinematography is great. All this, everything's working. The directing's working. Tom Hardy is not just in the fight, but you see him just getting worn out, which I like. I'm like, this is how you know that the director is paying attention to the directing, because just because we're in an action scene doesn't mean people don't get worn out or exhausted or even beat. And all of these things happen to Tom Hardy in this scene. It's, even though it's in the final part of the movie, and I don't want to spoil anything, so I'm not going to tell you how the fight scene ends. But even just watching Tom Hardy's reaction is entertaining, because he's just like, you see him go from "I think I'm gonna get you" to "I don't know which planet I'm on right now. Am I on Earth?" The action in Havoc is so much fun. It's if you like the Raid movies, and I've only seen the first one, but if you like the Raid, if you like me and you only seen the first one, man, are you getting a little taste of that? I do think the Raid was like a lot more action, but I think I don't know what. I mean, it's a different movie, but this movie, what I would say, this movie feels like a Grand Theft Auto. It feels like Grand Theft Auto 4 from the perspective of like a side character who was not in the game. You know what I mean? If it feels, it's all the carnage of Grand Theft Auto. It looks like Grand Theft Auto 4. Even Tom Hardy kind of looks like I forgot the main character's name, the Russian guy from Grand Theft Auto 4. And if you just think about the carnage that you cause when you're playing that game, that's what this movie looks like, except with all of the action caveats that you could hope for. So I'm not going to spoil it. This is just a pure recommendation, and there's nothing to spoil. I mean, it's a Tom Hardy's a corrupt cop who's trying to find his way out. It's like there's nothing. It's not much different from The Rundown, except The Rundown's a much cleaner movie. But yeah, Havoc. If you're looking for a good time, Havoc, I'm gonna say, is the crown jewel of this weekend for me. And all right, that's what I gotta say. Go check out Havoc if you haven't seen it. Really kick-ass time. I can't recommend it highly enough. If you're a real fan of the balls out crazy action, like I don't know, if you don't care that hey, there's no way these people should be alive to fight in the next scene, and that's every single scene. You know what I mean? So yeah, if you're into that, if you like the raid, you're gonna love Havoc. I was totally sold by the nightclub scene, and the finale did not disappoint. I mean, it does all the movie things of there's no way that you should be able to. If I may spoil one thing in the finale, after the big shootout is one more big shootout, and it's when a few more characters show up when our heroes have been cornered by the Asians, the Asian criminals. I'm sorry, I'm saying that because that's a reference to Pineapple Express, where the villains are indistinctly the Asians. I think it's a mix of Koreans and other. I think it's all over the place. I don't particularly remember. It's just I remember the description in every single time. It's the Asians. you know, you got the white criminal, and then you got the Asian criminals, and that's basically what this movie is. It's a very serious Pineapple meets uh, Grand Theft Auto 4. Um, but yeah, in the final shootout, because there's a final shootout after the final shootout. There's a situation where it's like two characters get the upper hand on what looks like 20 characters, and then mysteriously 10 to 15 of those characters are not there to participate, so that our two characters can turn the tide of this little battle. And it doesn't make any sense at all. The way it's set up, they should have been just killed outright. One of them is literally shot and flies into a wall in the chest, and he doesn't seem to be wearing body armor. He must be wearing like two body armors. And then he just keeps coming back, and it's just like typical fucking movie, right? Typical fucking movie that two people turn the tide on a situation where if you pay attention to this scene, there's no way that they turned the tide. They were totally in a position where that could not have happened, and yet, okay, it happened. And then all of a sudden, just to remember that this is a big action scene. It's the final shootout to the final shootout. Then all 15 of those characters come back, and in order to be killed. So it's just like, whatever. It's not that kind of movie. Again, the minute Tom Hardy went do 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 do, like, okay, I know what movie I'm in. I know exactly what movie I'm in, and I'm happy. So yeah, so it's pleasing all the way to the ending, and yeah, you'll get a good kick out of it. Hats off, team. Hats off, team. Remember, I said I have two movies to talk about: Predator, Killer of Killers, the new animated film from director Dan Trachtenberg, who also directed Prey. So, if you haven't seen Prey, I do recommend it. I think I am a fan of both Alien and Predator, but I'm way more a fan of the Predator franchise, or just the Predator character. And for me, I'll rank it right now: Predator 1, Predator 2, Prey. Alien versus Predator. And I don't need to talk about the rest. Well, Predators. Okay, I'll put Predators underneath Alien versus Predator. So, for those of you who don't know Predator Killer of Killers, this is an animated feature, again from the director of Prey. If you haven't seen Prey, Prey is about Amber Midthunder. She was just in Novocaine. She is a Native American woman who wants to be a hunter warrior. In this particular clan, that's not really allowed. Only men do it, but she wants so badly to do it. And what's cool about the movie is you watch her get better and better as a hunter and warrior across the entire movie, at the same time as you're seeing a very different kind of predator as he's working his way up the chain of killing animals and then reaching humans, and you're kind of seeing two predators get better at what they do until we reach the ending. And so I liked Prey a lot. I think it's a really good movie. But the very end credits of Prey hint at what Predator Killer of Killers is all about. In Predator Killer of Killers, we have three storylines across time where we're seeing a Viking family take on a predator. We see a samurai take on a predator, and then we see a World War II pilot take on a predator who's also flying. And I would say this, like, here's another movie where I think overall it's a fine movie. This Predator Killer of Killers for me does not reach the heights of Havoc, which I think the trailer kind of makes it look like it might. But it does have some excellent violence in it, some really cool kills. Unfortunately, I was a little tired, so I dozed off a bit and I missed one of the best kills, which is during the samurai story. The predator pulls out his classic spear, and then the spear has this thing where the spear becomes two spears and cuts off somebody's head. But other than that, I caught most of the violence. I would say that of the three segments, and then there's a surprise fourth segment to the movie. Of the three segments, the first one about the Viking, I think, was the best. It's the most personal. I think it's the best told story. And it also really shows there is a similar belief system between the predator and these Vikings. So I think, and also the way they build up to the violence, because at first we don't see what the Vikings are fully capable of. We're building on what they're trying to do. They're on a mission to hunt a very specific person. And so when they first just show us, it's kind of like the action's about to start, and then, oh, they've wiped out the enemy. And then when the action finally happens, it's our main character who is, I forgot the character's name, but she's the mother of a son who's basically, it's his first experience with war and everything. But her first action sequence where she has two shields and she busts into the enemy outpost, or whatever it is. She busts through the gates and she is just killing people left and right. That opening sequence, I tell you again, worth the price of admission. And it's so brutal and so good. I'm like, I did not know you could do this, Mr. Trachtenberg. Because everything in Prey was good, but that's a case where I think it's just good storytelling. Not that the action itself isn't good, but the action is not as distinctive as, say, the first Predator or even the second Predator. Like Predator 1 is very military / jungle hunter action. It's very consistent in that style. Predator 2 is kind of cartoony. It's kind of cartoony urban violence, where urban violence is taken to a level of like, this is basically a Saturday morning cartoon. And then in the case of Prey, it's more like the violence is not the biggest part of the movie, even though there's action scenes. It's really all about Amber Midthunder getting better at her game, as the Predator is also showing his strengths. So in the case of this movie, I was just like, whoa, okay, you're playing with a whole new tool set now, man. Like, I did not know you could deliver in one shot a level of action and violence that was so impressive. Just the opening action, this action sequence is worth checking the movie out for. And then we get to the Predator showing up to take on the Vikings. And I'll say this mini spoiler. This movie does break the traditional Predator rules. It also has a completely different Predator. We have the real introduction of the gigantic predators. The gigantic predators are the predators of this story. And perhaps it's just this is Dan Trachtenberg's vision, or maybe it's based off, I don't know what it's based off of. I haven't seen any interviews. But in this one, we have giant predators, and they really just show themselves right away and get into the fight. I mean, I don't even know why they have the invisible technology to begin with. They just, once they want to fight, they just show themselves and start fighting. And so, you know, the action and violence is fantastic, but it's just a little odd because we're getting these three sort of 10 to 20 minute segments where essentially each time the predator just appears. So that much I can spoil for you. The samurai story I thought was okay. I was not so invested in that one. I would say for me, I think I'm less interested in the storylines as they progress. I think the samurai story was okay. You know, it sets up a notion of two samurai teaming up against a predator, or technically one of them is a ninja. And so teaming up, teamwork, right from the first story, it's an aspect of the movie. But it's setting up what the last segment of the story is, which I don't want to spoil too much, but I'll get to it. But essentially, yeah, so we have the samurai and a ninja teaming up against the predator in part 2, and then part 3 is the US Air Force versus a predator also flying in his predator ship. So I care the least for that third story. The third story, it's a new guy, it's a kid who's just joining the fray, and so he does not have the experience really, but he's just, I guess, very creative. So I didn't really like the samurai story. I would have been far more interested in the samurai story if it was presented differently, because it is presented in a very personal way. I do kind of like it, but I would have liked the samurai to be introduced in a more big movie kind of way, the way our first Viking queen is introduced. You know, she's introduced with that huge, crazy action sequence. I felt like the samurai deserved the same treatment, where it's like, okay, how are you supposed to fight a predator if she had to do all of that with a wooden shield? You know what I mean? Because it's so far in the past. Now you have steel, so what's your level of expertise? So I would have liked a little bit more action, also mostly just establishing the samurai hero. But again, it's more about how the predator attacks everybody and seeing the predator's various gadgets in each story. So the predator showing up and killing all the samurai people is so much fun. And you know, it buys it back. You know what I mean? I'm less, like I said, I'm less interested in that storyline, but the violence buys it all back. And again, the predator just shows up without his hologram, and kind of it's kind of a thread. The each sequence has a moment where the hero of that segment figures out how to kind of not be seen by the predator, and I'm like, come on, this is kind of silly, man. We don't even need that. I mean, it's just such an identical moment. I'm like, okay, fine, okay. So the samurai or the ninja hides by just being directly underneath the predator. Good job. Okay, cool. And so, and then how the pilot does it is even wilder. So I'm like, okay. I don't even know if you need this, but okay, fine. Everyone gets their moment to have one up on the Predator. But I was not interested in the pilot story at all. I kind of don't care for the new kid storyline. They did that in the Matrix Revolutions, and it's fine. But again, I think much like the Samurai, like I need something a bit more than that, and especially because each of these stories, it has its own title. The hero is attributed a specific quality or trait. In the case of the Viking, her story is called the Shield, and you see what she uses as her weapon is a shield, or in her case, two shields. And then we have the sword, which is, the samurai. And then we have the bullet, which is the pilot. And this does matter when we get to the final segment of the movie, which is all of these stories are actually tied together. And if you want spoilers, wait for the popcorn. But as spoiler free as I can get, I do like how these stories are tied together. And I just, unfortunately, I was not all about the ending. I have a different perspective on the ending, how I think I should be. I think that's my one thing. I think Dan Trachtenberg is a really good storyteller and clearly upping his game with action. Like, I'll say this, even though I will have comments on the ending in my spoiler section, I'm still very excited for Predator Badlands. In fact, because of the action in this one, I'm doubled down. I'm very excited for Predator Badlands, which is, he was making both of these movies at the same time. So, I think if there's issues of quality, perhaps it's there. Like, he was a bit divided. He was trying to do two movies at once, which is very ambitious. And I do think, on the whole, Predator Killer of Killers is cool. It's a cool movie. I like that he's kind of giving us a different faction of predators. All of the predators in these segments, and even the final segment, they're all giant predators. So I think he's really exploring the lore, and perhaps the reason these predators act the way they act is this is how they do things. They're not the same predator as the one from Prey. And so, that being said, I do recommend it. I think, maybe watch this one first and then watch Havoc if you want that violent action movie satisfaction. I think Havoc should be your explosive finale, but this would be a nice build up to that. I think Predator Killer of Killers, it's even starts off with a quote that explains why that's the title, which I really like. I miss when movies would do that. Movies used to do that here and there when I was growing up, and you just don't see it very often. But I really, really like the sort of thematic construction of the movie. I think there's a lot of things that are well assembled. It's overall a good piece of storytelling, even though I didn't quite identify with a couple of the characters quite as much. But I'll get into that in spoilers. So, as spoiler free as I can get, I am still recommending Predator Killer of Killers. Again, the Viking segment by itself is enough. And how it all ties together in the surprise fourth segment, which is hinted at in the trailer, but the surprise fourth segment it's cool. It's, again, I wasn't 100% on the ending. The ending shot is super cool, but the what leads up to the ending shot, I'm like, okay. But it doesn't really matter. Like, I still had that. I had the same thing with Prey, and I still love Prey. I do think Prey is better than this movie, but that's because I think it's focused on one character, and she has a really clear journey. And if we get into spoilers, this movie is again tied to Prey, so I'll talk about that in the spoiler section. But double recommendation: Havoc and Predator Killer of Killers. I would watch them in the reverse order as I've explained them here, if you're just looking for that end hype. But again, I'm so much more hyped for Predator Badlands. I think it's going to be a great time. The trailer looks fantastic. I'm very curious about what's going to happen in that movie. And yeah, hats off Dan Trachtenberg. Hats off Gareth Evans. We got two fun action movies for this weekend. And if you haven't already seen it and you're looking for something to watch this week, that's my recommendations. Now stick around for the popcorn for my spoilery thoughts on Predator, Killer of Killers. Ooh, spoilers. Ooh. All right, the popcorn has popped. Hopefully, you've already watched the movie, and so I'm not spoiling anything for you. But if you're just one of those people who doesn't care about spoilers like me, then cool. Welcome to spoilers. Okay, Predator, Killer of Killers. I love the Viking section. Again, all these segments have our heroes learning how to evade the Predator's senses, exactly like the first Predator with Arnold getting in the mud. In the Viking segment, she falls into the icy water and the Predator can't see her. And the problem is that if you use it, you really have to use it. And it's just a single moment in each one of these shorts. So it's kind of like, okay, that's fine. But I really like how she ends up bringing the Predator back into the ice water and using the anchor of one of the ships, one of the wrecked ships that are in the ice. I thought the way she gets out of that was really cool, and yeah, it was awesome. I really love that Viking storyline. It's too bad her son is named Anders, and I can't help but wonder: is this a reference to Workaholics, where one of the main three guys is Anders Holm, who is also in Monarch, by the way? You know what? I did not know he had dramatic chops. I really liked him in Monarch. It was hard to take him seriously at first because I couldn't stop thinking of Workaholics when I saw him. But as that show went on, I was like, oh, this dude's good. He's actually a legit good actor. And he works as a kind of aloof scientist. Not necessarily aloof, but on the edge scientist. But just the fact that the kid's name was Anders, I was like, hey, hey, you referencing Workaholics? But it was sad when he ended up passing at the end of the short. But then she ends up being captured by the predators. So they just kind of dissolved to it. Again, I was kind of tired when I was watching this, so that may have affected my enjoyment. But it just dissolves, and she's a prisoner of the predators. So right away, we're getting the explanation of how the fourth segment happens, where everyone's going to team up. But we dissolve. She's got the neck brace on, and then we see the samurai behind her, and then it goes to his story. And this story just really didn't interest me very much. I liked the opening of it, where we see two nervous brothers not wanting to really fight each other, and we get a bit of quick action that establishes how good they actually both are. But then it just kind of again dissolves to their future where they're adults, and I don't feel like we got a really good introduction of the brother who stayed and became a samurai. I feel like it would have been really, I think would have made this movie better, and especially this segment better. And who knows, maybe they wanted to do it and couldn't do it. It would have been nice if we establish him in the field, taking on a bunch of guys. How exactly is this guy supposed to take on a predator? And we don't really have that. I think we're just supposed to run off of the little hint of the fight with the brothers. But to me, I'm like, I would really like to see what you're actually good at. But it ends up being more about the predator versus the ninja, the brother who gets disgraced and runs away, which is fine. But again, he gets disgraced and runs away, and then he just returns as a ninja. And so it's kind of like, okay, you're doing a lot here. You're doing a lot here with a very little limited amount of time, and it's fine. I still would have liked a little bit more. But then when we get to the pilot story, I've already said it. I just wasn't into that story as much. But more importantly, I liked that they were all corralled, that the predators are keeping these people with cryogenics to get them to the finale. I liked everything in the finale except that once the pilot started the ship and flew away with the one guy, and I like the shield girl or shield woman, the Viking, using her shield to break the chain that the predators stick onto the ship. But I just felt like they should have turned around and rammed that plane back into all those predators. I didn't care for them escaping. I thought, this is not the Warriors' way. You should have totally, and this ship is not even a kamikaze thing. You should have just turned that thing around and rammed into all those predators, and then give her a moment to hop back on that ship and then go away, and then we get our final shot where the predator goes, "We hunt." I just thought that was kind of lame, them just flying away without her. I'm like, come on, dude. This is not a human ship. You can fly that thing into the predators and crash into the rocket bed. You'll be fine. You know what I mean? That was my only thing. I thought everything in the final segment worked well enough because we got the damn Rancor, but you got to give some payback, bro. You got to give some payback. But other than that, I love that we get the reveal because the Viking is carried away. They do the Indiana Jones scene where the Viking is carried away in the cryogenics thing, so that we can reveal that our girl from Prey, Amber Midthunder, is also in the cryogenic thing. But to me, I do think that's a breaking of the rule. In Predator 2, Danny Glover is allowed to leave after defeating the Predator. I think that to me is a sign of respect that needs to be respected. But nonetheless, as a piece of world building and movie connecting, I'm excited to see that this means Amber Midthunder will return, because I really loved her part in Prey, and I'm a fan of her from Legion, so I'm excited to see how this all ties together. I'm hoping this all comes together in Predator Badlands. I guess we're going to find out. I'm looking forward to Elle Fanning's role. She's been fantastic. I haven't seen her movies since Super 8, but she made such an impression. She was really fantastic. And I see her, all the trailers she's been in, she's been doing some great stuff. So I'm excited to finally see her again, now all grown up, in a very cool role in a Predator movie. I'm like, ooh, this is going to be interesting. So I'm hoping that this all ties together because they're already hinting at it. So I'm looking forward to Predator Badlands. That's all I got for spoilers. I totally recommend both movies. I just really felt like, dude, turn that ship around, smash into those people, and then run away. That's all. That's all you need to do. And I'm totally in. But whatever, it's cool. I understand why you had to have the Viking get left behind so that you could do that shot. But other than that, what an exciting time. That's my thoughts. Thank you for watching New Movie Tuesdays. I'll be here next week, hopefully, for something else, all right? Have an excellent time. Have an excellent week. I know the world is weary and crazy, but just let's try to stick together and hang on and hang in there, all right? We're going to make it. I believe we're going to make it. So hang in there, buddy. Hang in there till next Tuesday, where I can tell you about something else I watched. All right, mahalo and aloha. Hopefully I'll see you next time.